Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for all the blessings and life you bestow upon each and every one of us. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your grace and forgiveness. And we ask you to be with this event tonight. Be with each candidate, be with them as they speak, and be with everyone who's here tonight to be attentive and give their very best to listen carefully. Heavenly Father, we ask you to bless this event. Heavenly Father, we ask you to bless our sins, not bless our sins, but forgive our sins. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Thank you so much. Before we begin, I want to give a little perspective here. 10 years ago, every single elected official in this county was a Democrat. My, how far we've come. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. It is a good thing to have competition in the Republican Party. It is a good thing to have discussions within our party of who should be our leadership. We welcome competition. What we do not welcome are personal, nasty attacks. We do not welcome that. Those of us in this room, we are all a part of the body of Christ. That's what matters. We need to remain focused on that. We want the best for our community, we want the best for our state, and we want the best for this country. So if we can keep it that way tonight and all the way through May 12th, I think we've done our part. Agreed? Agreed. Okay. So that being said, let's go over the ground rules for tonight. We have with us candidates running for State Senate. We have candidates running for House of Delegates of the 47th District. That is everything 219 West in the Greenbrier Valley. We also have candidates for County Commission. And we also have candidates for Board of Education. And I am very pleased to state that everybody who agreed to come tonight is here tonight. And we want to thank all of you for your participation and your willingness to put yourself forward as a candidate. It's not an easy thing. It's not easy to go on Facebook, no matter who you are, and see your name tarnished. It's not easy to divulge yourself into small town drama. Nobody likes that. Nobody really wants that for the Greenbrier Valley. And so thank you for your willingness to stand up. These are trying times, and it takes brave individuals who are willing to lead. So thank you for your willingness to run. Order of operations, each candidate tonight will be given a full 10 minutes if they so choose. If they so choose. And Paula and the Board of Education candidates, if you all choose not to, I'm not going to hurt you or anything like that. But we're really glad to have the board candidates as well. Point being, no questions from the audience unless the candidate specifically asks for them. But no questions from the audience. The best opportunity tonight is to visit with these individual candidates after this is over. And so we have the room for a while. So really excited for the opportunity for some one-on-one dialogue after this is over. We are going to start tonight with the Board of Education, and we are going to work our way from there to County Commission, to House of Delegates, to State Senate. Wow, we're working our way up, aren't we? Climax. That being said, if any candidate has any sort of attack against another candidate, that other candidate will be given an additional 2 minutes to respond. That's the only fair way to handle this. That being said, beyond that, please come up here, state your case as to why you're running, what you're running for, what your qualifications are, and what makes you passionate about that office. And we will start now with the Greenbrier County Board of Education candidates. And I'm pleased to say that all of these are registered Republicans. So grateful, and we will start with Ms. Jeanie Wyatt. Absolutely.
I just did a little visual, so.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
I'm Jeanie Wyatt. I am from Lewisburg. I've been on the Greenbrier County Board of Education. I will finish my 20th year
on June 30th. And I've loved every minute of it. I can't say that some days haven't been tough, they've been rough, but I have a love for public education and I have a love for Greenbrier County schools. I talked to Ben earlier today, we texted, and I said, Ben, if you don't mind, I'd like to take part of my time to explain how the Board of Education election works, because it is totally different from any other election. On a Board of Education, you have 5 board members, okay? And they're based on the magisterial districts in your county. So we have 3 magisterial districts. They are selected because of the census. So we have the Eastern District, the Central District, and the Western District. The Eastern District runs from the Pocahontas County line on the eastern side of the river, all the way down to part of Ronsford, and then all the way down to Alderson. Okay, Ronsford has a split thing there. I will give an example. When I was on the board years ago with Stephen Baldwin and Kathy King, they lived literally almost across the street from each other. And Stephen was in the eastern and Kathy was in the central. Okay, so that's how it works. The central is the rest of Ronsford, Lewisburg, part of Caldwell, north of Lewisburg. And it's the smallest district land-wise, but it has the largest population. And then the Western District runs north of Lewisburg, across Williamsburg, Friars Hill, all the western end of the county, down to parts on the very end of Alderson. Now the eastern runs all the way to Alderson. So that's how the districts are set up. In a board, you have 5 members, but you can only have 2 from any district. So that's what makes ours complicated as far as how the election runs. If you look on the paper I handed out to you, our current board has 1 member from the Western, which is Paula Sanford-Dunford. In the Central, we have Mary Humphreys and myself. And in the Eastern, we have Bobby McClintock and Andrew Utterback. The 3 that are in red are the 3 that are up for election this year. With your board, not a whole board ever goes off. So you either have 3 running or 2 running. You serve a 4-year term, but it's every 2 years there's an election. In the race this year, the Western end is Paula. I'm in the Central. Andrew's running in the Eastern, and Nicole Ramsey's running in the Eastern. Technically, the only race that's going on is in the Eastern District, because we automatically go back into our slots, okay? But in the Eastern, since Bobby's already there, we can only elect 1 person. If you flip your paper over, this is just what could happen. You could be the 2nd biggest vote getter and not get the position. So if you look here, I just kind of made up an election. Paula would run in the Western, Mary, myself, and somebody named Jane would run in the Central. Andrew, somebody named John, and Bobby would run in the East, will be in the Eastern. So Jane ends up with 1,000 votes. I get 900, Andrew gets 850, Paula 800, John 700. But guess what? I didn't get back on the board because Mary's already holding 1 slot in the Central District. So only 1 person can be elected. So Jane and I were running against each other. Jane got more votes, so she gets the spot. I hope that makes some sense, but it's very confusing to people, especially on election night, when they see those votes roll in, why the bigger vote getter doesn't get the position, okay? So your new board then would be Western Paula, Central Mary and Jane, Eastern Bobby and Andrew. So I hope that gives you some clarification of how the board works, because it's a different race than anything. But when you go to the polls, you can vote 3 times, okay? You're not limited to your district. You're not limited just to the 3 votes because you're replacing 3 board members. Going back to myself, I'm very proud of what we've accomplished in Greenbrier County Schools over the last 20 years. We have made leaps and bounds with our facilities. Once we start the White Sulphur project, We have done something to every school in this entire system. And if you've ever traveled out of Greenbrier County, which I have quite a bit in the last few years because I have grandchildren playing in other counties' sports, you will realize how wonderful our facilities are and how far we've come. And our goal of our board has always been to get along and to work together. We work together for the betterment of our students and our staff. We try to make every student successful. That's our goal, is to see our kids be successful out in the world. And I'll tell you, as a board member, some days you want to pull your hair out because of the negativity that we receive. But if you've ever sat on the stage at one of our high school graduations and watched those kids walk across the stage and see what they've accomplished, it's the biggest reward. Some of those students I've seen in a student hearing because they were in trouble. And they've attended our alternative education and everything. And they walk across that stage and they smile at us because that's our number one goal, is to make them successful. And I don't care what I do and put up with all the drama we go through, it's all worth it in the end. And I will say, over my last 20 years, we've been through a lot. We've been through a derecho, we've been through flood, we've been through teacher strikes, walkouts, we went through COVID. And now we're into some major financial issues. But you know what? Everything that happened, we've learned from, and we've gone forward and tried to make things better. And we will continue to do that, because what's so important is what happens to our children. We have to have a successful future, and it depends on our children and it depends on us. So I would appreciate your vote, and I would appreciate your support as a member of the Greenbrier County Board of Education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Jeanie. We appreciate you very much. At this time, we're going to ask Andrew Utterback to come up. He's a current member of the Greenbrier County Board of Education, serving from the Eastern District. Andrew Utterback.
Oh, well, I'm not a big public speaker, I can tell you that right now, but I'll tell you what I feel, what I think, and how amazing it's been for the last almost 4 years, because June will be 4 years for me, to be on the board. I've learned so much. There's not enough 10 minutes in this world to kind of go over all of the reward and or headache, whichever way you would like to look at it, for all that goes on.
A little closer to your mouth. There you go.
I'm not saying I'm fine. Yeah, I'm not used to that. I don't like to talk about myself or anything like that. We can talk about tractors, or if you want to, or anything, whatever else you want to do. But the one thing that's drove me is being able to watch not only our students grow, but the teachers, the principals, the administration staff, our cooks, the bus drivers. These people love our kids, and we try to do everything we can to support them and to make sure that they all have the resources that they need. And it's not easy at times. I mean, as Ms. Wyatt said, we're in a financial crush right now, and it's a little hard on us. And I pulled my hair out, what little bit I got left, that I don't shave off. That I'm just so proud of what we've accomplished, and in a short time that I've been there, and I have so many more goals that I'd like to see accomplished, and I know the other members would like to see accomplished, and some of them might be out there that we'll never get to, but other ones I really I want to see 100% graduation rates. I know that might not be the realistic, but that's something that I'd like to see. And again, I'm losing track of what I'm trying to say, because I'm nervous. I don't like to say it again. I don't like public speaking. I'm grown up and was born and raised in Alderson, on a farm. So I've dealt with the hard work that comes with the farm, and I understand what it takes to reap what you sow, for instance, and I feel like the education system is just like working on a farm for the most part. We're putting in these little tiny seeds from these parents that are giving us their little tiny babies that they love so much, and we are teaching them to read, write, and to grow up to be parents as well, so they can put their little tiny babies back into the hands of the schools and be successful in life. Not everybody has to graduate from college. Not everybody has to go to a trade school either, but there's so much opportunity that our kids get to learn in our school system that I wouldn't even begin to know where to list. When I was in high school, I spent most of my senior year, especially in shop classes, doing HVAC. I don't do HVAC for a living, but that was something that was offered at my high school, and that was just fantastic. And I'm just so proud of what we've done, what we've accomplished in the new schools that and the remodeling that we've done, especially in all the schools throughout the county, to give these younger kids and the next generation just the best that we can possibly offer. And sometimes that's hard, and I know it is, but my goal is to make sure that we love them, they're taken care of, because they're your kids, my kids. The school system loves them. The teachers love the kids. I know the principals are always talking about how much they love certain students and how much they want to see them grow, and every kid is just perfect. And that's the way we like to see things, is we want us to grow and everybody develop to be the best that we can do. And now that I ran on forever, I am going to go, because I will turn this back over. Thank you.
Next up, Paula Sanford-Dunford, Western District Board of Education. Give a round of applause.
Oh, I am nervous. I don't know why. I know, the board knows that I don't have a problem speaking or speaking at all, but I don't know, I'm so nervous.
Up to your mouth.
Now, I'm speaking straight from my heart, but I had to write things down. So, good evening. I am Paula Sanford-Dunford, and I'm honored to stand before you tonight as a candidate for re-election to the Greenbrier County Board of Education. I grew up in a little holler in Raynell. Like so many of you, I was raised on hard work, strong values, and deep sense of community. I attended Raynell Elementary, Raynell Junior High School, and then I graduated from Greenbrier West in 1991. After graduation, I attended Concord College. That's when it was a college, that's how long it's been. And I pursued a degree in education. Today I work for the Greenbrier County Sheriff's Department in Rupert, where I've been employed for the past 8 years. But above all, I am a mom, and I am a Mimi. I have 2 older girls, Madison and Mackenzie, that both attended the local schools. They have both also graduated from Greenbrier West High School. I have a younger daughter who is currently in the 9th grade at Greenbrier West High School. My husband Steve and I have been married for 19 years, and we built our life right here in this community. And I am blessed with 4 grandchildren. Anybody that has grandchildren, they're better than kids any day. Oh my gosh. 2 of which of those grandchildren will attend a school here in Greenbrier County. So when I say I care about schools, I don't just mean as a board member. I mean as a mother, as a Mimi, and as someone's roots that run very, very deep in this county. For the past 4 years, I have had the privilege of serving on the Board of Education. During that time, I have learned so much. As a board member, we are responsible for hiring superintendents, establishing a budget, approving school closure or consolidation, and maintaining school properties. But what no one tells you is that it comes with great responsibility. No one tells you about the countless meetings. No one tells you about sitting in rooms, making a decision about children who struggle or face challenges that can impact their future. No one tells you about the weight you carry home at night. No one tells you about you lose sleep. They don't tell you that you cry over someone else's child, and that we have to stand up for what is right, even when it's standing alone. Over these past years, I have learned something. Sometimes you have to be the salt of the earth and not the sugar. That means telling the truth, even when it's hard. That means making decisions based on what is right and not what is easy. I understand that many of our decisions made over the past 4 years have raised some questions. And tonight, I'm going to openly talk about those. Let's start with our new central office. The Board of Education decision to enter into a lease to purchase agreement with the State Fair of West Virginia. Did you understand what I said? Lease to purchase. The building is located behind the free parking lot at the fairgrounds adjacent to Greenbrier East High School and Eastern Greenbrier Middle School. Before this, our offices were scattered. We had some at the New River Technical College and some over at the Chestnut Street. By bringing everything together under one roof, we are creating a central hub for our school system. This facility will house our administrative offices, our achievement center, youth reporting center, and adult education programs, all in one place. This is more than just a building. It's an investment in our future. A place of gathering, a place of where everyone is welcome, and a place that will serve Greenbrier County for many years. Now, I know what many of you are thinking. If we have the money for a new building, why are we talking about closing schools? Why are we letting teachers go? Those are fair questions. I'm going to talk about Crichton Elementary real quick. We have tried so hard to accommodate Crichton Elementary. Today's enrollment is roughly around 72 students. It costs about $1 million a year to operate that school. We are right now considering consolidating classrooms and making adjustments to operate more efficiently. And I want to say clearly that none of us sitting here today want that school to close. We understand that it's entirely the community school. That's all that's there. We understand that. But we also are responsible for making decisions that ensure the long-term stabilization of our entire school system, not just one school. And along with those decisions come RIFTing. RIFTing is reduction in force. And I want to also make clear that none of this is about a teacher's heart, none of this is about their ability, and none of this is about their dedication. This is just about numbers. And as student enrollment declines, so does sometimes the funding, and that's what's happening. And funding decreases, we are required to adjust the staffing. In many cases, you have to start with the seniority, not because they matter less, but because that's just how the system operates. And I know it's hard. It means larger classrooms and it means fewer teachers. So, I'm going to wrap it up because we only had so many minutes. So at the end of the day, it's not about the budget and it's not about politics. It's about our children. It's about the children who need extra help, the children who made mistakes but deserve another chance, and the children who just need someone to believe in them. I've sat in those meetings and I've shed tears and I've prayed over decisions that affect families just like yours. And now, as a Mimi, I think about the future of my little 2 grandbabies and what they will sit in their classrooms and think and what they will be taught. And every decision we make will shape their future today. This job has changed me. It's made me stronger and it's made me more compassionate and it's made me even more committed. I'm not perfect, but I promise you this, I will always listen, and I will always stand up for what is right, and I will always fight for the children of Greenbrier County, because this just isn't a work, this is my home. This is where I raised my children. This is where my grandchildren are growing. And this is where my heart will always be. I would be honored to continue serving you. My promise is simple. I am here to listen. I am here to help. And I am here to be your voice. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the Greenbrier County.
She got more and more on a roll there, didn't she?
Great. Thank you, Paula. We appreciate everybody who's running for Board of Education. And that is your Republican slate. Let's just make sure that's abundantly clear. That is your Republican slate. Beyond that, we are ready for Greenbrier County Commission. And from here on out, a couple extra things to go by. We are going to go by alphabetical last name. Alphabetical last name. So for County Commission, it'll be Bill Bell, Matt Ford. For House of Delegates, it will be Ray Cantebury, Mary Catherine Tuckwiller. For State Senate, it'll be Jonathan Comer, Ben Steves. I hope I get my ABCs right. And here on out, I am going to ask Brandon Baker with the West Virginia Daily News if you will keep the time from here on out. Remember, everybody has 10 minutes, and if you'll give a little warning of 2 minutes and then 1. I'd greatly appreciate that. So, without further ado, Bill Bell, a candidate for Greenbrier County Commission, Western District. Give him a round of applause.
Appreciate you, buddy. Very nice. Take care. Can you guys hear me okay?
Speak right in that mic.
Back.
Right in that mic.
I'm not a real bold speaker either, and I would like to say sometimes maybe I'm a little backward. My wife says not, but anyhow. I know we're supposed to do a little, maybe a history lesson, if you will, where we came from and where we're going. I'd like to tell you that when I first got to West Virginia as a small child of about 14 years old, I was not a happy camper. I moved from the city, from Northern Virginia, to the hills of West Virginia in Quinwood, and it was a major culture shock for me. So I kind of felt like as I grown a little older and look back upon my life, that I felt like I was one of those people that maybe God smiled on the day He made me and said, this is going to be fun. This young man's going to do okay. So just moving a little bit further, again, I didn't like it, but I was sitting back here a minute ago looking up here and I see this picture behind me. It shows me where I live at today. We live in the most beautiful place on the planet. And I'm going to tell you that I'm thankful that I'm placed right here in Greenbrier County. I know I'm here for a reason. So to give you a little further up at where I came from, as a small child, I did grow up in the town of Raynell. I started school here in Greenbrier County, in Greenbrier West, as a sophomore. I left, leaving high school, not knowing where I was going or headed like the rest of us. I was not college bound. I just had really good mentors in my life. One of them was the store owner that I currently own, and he took me under his wing, and I spent 22 years with him. Since then, I've bought that store, and we have weathered several storms in our little town. Ms. Wyatt spoke about the ratio. My wife and I have now 20 years and 12 grandchildren later, weathered that ratio the best way we knew how was we'd owned that store 6 hours when the storm came. It tore up everything. Through the grace of God, He put everything back together and we went to work. Everybody knows 2016, what we suffered. I felt like we bought our store from the former owner and we bought it again from Mother Nature. It was a very hard task. It takes a lot of tenacity and a lot of spirit to stay in business in a small town. It really does. You just got to kind of live it. Moving toward 2019, our town needed what seemed to be someone that would step up to the plate. And I put my name in the hat for our town recorder. That I did win that position and I stayed there for 2 years. I'm going to tell you that, like the Board of Education, we was having some financial struggles, but with the help of good leadership, and I've always been one that felt like I surrounded myself with people that made me better than I am. We survived that storm. I did leave for a couple of years. When I came back 2 years later, I ran again, won again, and I spent those last 2 years with Mayor Andy Pendleton. And other person I had the most respect for. So she and a lot of other people have been encouragers of me to maybe step up to the plate for the county commission job. Maybe I don't have all the qualifications that some may have. I'm not on a lot of boards. I just am who I am. I have a heartbeat for my county. I still have some of those same leaders in my arsenal of people. At the end of the day, I still put most of my faith in God. I trust in Him first and foremost. Amen. And I have a heartbeat for Greenbrier County to keep progressing forward. So someone asked me one day, and I will close. I said, that sounds like a preacher. I ain't listening to you though. I lost my train of thought. I just want to tell you guys, somebody asked me what my platform was one day here recently, and I could only give them one word. And that platform is, I looked at the gentleman, I said, it's you. Fellow Greenbrier County citizens, it's you. I want to see us do the best we can do and be the best that we can be at everything that we do. I think we're going to strive and move forward. And I have a heartbeat. I will appreciate you guys' support, and I'll make you a solemn promise I'll do everything possible to do what I said I will do. I trust in you guys. I hope you trust in me. Love all you guys.
All righty, and now at this time, another candidate for Greenbrier County Commission for Western District, Matt Ford.
Mr. Sir. Well, good evening. As he said, my name's Matt Ford.
Mic to mouth. Mic to mouth.
Some people might be confused because I am not the Matt Ford from Rossford that you know, but I'm the Matt Ford from the West End. And recently somebody in a restaurant referred to me as the Meadow River guy. That good?
That's better.
All right. So I've got some notes here. Got about 20 years of experience that I need to go through, but they wanted some background. My family history, my great-grandpa moved to Orange Hill, a suburb of Quinwood, nearly 100 years ago. And if you say Orient Hill, I know you're not from Orange Hill. So, and he moved there to mine coal in Greenbrier and Nicholas counties back when those coal mines were just getting started. And my grandpa, he followed his footsteps, and he mined coal until he retired and ended up passing away of what my doctor would call the whole West Virginia thing of smoking and coal dust. But my dad, when it was time for him to get to work in his younger years, he couldn't go into coal mining because there was a slump in the coal industry. So he ended up joining the military because he had 2 kids that needed diapers, and so we ended up in Germany, stationed in Germany when I was a kid. And I started in elementary school. In the latter part of my first grade year, we moved back to Greenbrier County, and I attended Creighton Elementary and junior high and graduated from Greenbrier West High School. Earned a bachelor's degree in biology from West Virginia University and a master's in environmental science from Marshall University. I mentioned my family was in the military and coal miners, so they couldn't pay for my college education, so I worked at times up to 4 part-time jobs at a time to get through college while a full-time student, just to try and keep the student loans down. So one of those jobs was Magic Mart in Raynell. How many of you remember Magic Mart in Lewisburg or Raynell? And I met my wife there, of all places, you can get everything you need at Magic Mart. and I joked with her that we've been married for 23 years. The store where I got her is closed down, so we're stuck. I can't take her back. But, so I guess, yeah, we're stuck together. So during graduate school, I started working for companies that did environmental consulting and construction work for the federal government. Those projects had me working all over the eastern United States. We were living in Charleston there at the time, and when I traveled, my wife didn't want to stay in Putnam County where we were living at the time, because she said, "You're leaving me here alone by myself, except for this 1 to 2 year old. He doesn't talk very much. It's getting really boring. So I'm going to go home to my parents' house in Charmco when you travel." So it didn't matter if I was going to Richmond, Virginia, to Fort A.P. Hill, or I was going to Sandusky, Ohio, to work on an old World War II TNT site. I was going via Charmco. And one time during all those travels, my grandpa, he mentioned to me that I told him I had no intention of staying away from Greenbrier County forever. I was traveling all over the place. And he said, "Son, if you're going to come back home, you better bring a job with you." So ended up doing that. After all the traveling, I eventually got hired by a company out of Pittsburgh, started an office in southern West Virginia, and ended up building that business where we were able to purchase it when the boss was getting ready to retire in 2019, and we started Greenbrier Environmental Group, and now we've got 15 employees. So my grandpa didn't live long enough for me to bring that home, but I'm glad that I was able to bring a job and then bring jobs for other people here in Greenbrier County. But during those trips back to Charmco, and then going somewhere else, I got to see the differences between my home and other places. And every time I come home, it seemed like her home was just a little bit worse. More buildings were closed. The grass at the park was a little higher. There was just issues that needed to be addressed. And being a project manager and somebody in the environmental industry that cleans up messes all over the country, I was like, somebody's got to do something. So in 2018, we had our first community meeting in Rupert. And several people attended. We talked about what was needed in the community. And the first project they wanted to work on was the roadside park in Charmco. So started working on that. We had our first meeting on August 16th, 2008. And I remember that date because it was me and my wife's wedding anniversary. So we had our first public meeting. And she wasn't mad at me. She said, "Oh, it's fine." And I realized after 23 years of marriage, when your wife tells you, "Oh, it's fine," it's not fine. But she wasn't mad at me. And we got to work on that park. 2009 was our first cleanup. We removed 2 triaxle loads of trash from that park. Weird thing, 13 toilets. I guess every time a toilet busted over the winter, they just throw it behind the building. So we cleaned the park up, and that park was the center of my volunteering for a number of years until the flood. And in 2016, I was appointed co-chair of the Greater Greenbrier Long-Term Recovery Committee. That organization did an incredible number of great things to support volunteers right here in Greenbrier County, and we had people that came and helped from all over the country. The Long-Term Recovery Committee, in partnership with the Economic Development Corporation, held regular meetings. And we did that. We tried to do it once a month after the flood, and it started out with, this is where you get a washer and dryer, this is where you get some kind of flood resource. But we had all these people working together, and we had to say, what's next? What else do we need to work on? So we had a meeting about Rupert School, and Rupert School was damaged during the flood. It wasn't inundated with water, but you get 11 inches of rain on the mountainside, that water is going to go somewhere, and it went right through Rupert Elementary School campus. So we met with the Greenbrier County Board of Education, decided to take that project on. They were excellent partners during the whole process. And in the end, we were able, group of volunteers, we partnered with Woodlands Development out of Elkins and raised almost $6 million for one building to turn it into 20 different apartment units, a mix of income-based and affordable units. We also use part of the school for Meadow River Early Childhood Learning Center, otherwise known as the Marble Center, and the Youth Wrestling League. They use part of the campus also, so thanks to you two for helping out with that. So again, a $6 million investment in Rupert just because people decided to work together. I was glad to be able to put together that team of people to get those resources and that much investment in the town of Rupert. Recently, Meadow River Valley Association, we completed the Adventure Meadow River Outdoor Recreation Plan, and that plan was developed with input from hundreds of people from across the region, and is available for review at adventuremeadowriver.com. And since 2018, I've managed the Meadow River Rail Trail for the Greenbrier and Fayette County Commissions, and we've been able to complete 11 miles of that trail, starting from now and going upriver. And in June, we'll cut the ribbon on another approximately 10 miles to get that trail terrain out. And within the last couple months, we wrote grants and was able to get $3.2 million in congressionally directed spending for construction to take the trail all the way to the Gully River National Recreation Area, and $750,000 in a federal lands access program grant to do the construction and design for the trail itself and connection roads. Did I mention I'm a grant writer? So, been very beneficial to that project. And then from the Gully River, the National Park Service is going to take it on and extend it all the way down to the Gully River is the long-term vision. But to have the Adventure Meadow River plan and then so quickly get funding to complete the trail all the way down to the Park Service is great. It's really great for Greenbrier County because now you can start once this project's done, you can start in Greenbrier County, and we have that connection to the national park with that recreation corridor. So West Virginia Tourism really excited about that potential. I'm excited about what it can bring to Greenbrier County. In addition to the volunteer work as Executive Director of Meadow River Valley Association, I had the privilege of serving Greenbrier County as a board member and currently the chairman of the Greenbrier Valley Economic Development Corporation and a board member of the Greenbrier Valley Community Foundation. I've also served on various other nonprofit boards and assisted with grant writing on several projects in the county. As a county commissioner, I'm going to help continue the work that I've been doing and apply my skill set to county government.
And Tom.
People who know me and have been to some of the Republican Party events in this county know I'm not afraid to take a microphone. But Matt, Bill, we're all really thankful that you both are running.
That's right.
I think both of you, each of you, could bring a lot to Greenbrier County no matter which one of you wins. So thank you for putting yourselves forward. We're going to move now to the House of Delegates, 47th District. And we're going to go once again in alphabetical order by last name, and we will start with Delegate Ray Cantebury.
Thank you, Ben. So this is going to be an election about contrasts. So I have some information, and with supporting documentation that I have with me that suggests that there are, in fact, philosophical differences between the candidates in this race that you should probably know about before you cast your vote. Now, of course, while my opponent does not have a legislative record, she has left behind a paper trail that says a lot about who she is. She did not have a party affiliation before around 2022 when she changed her registration and nominally became a Republican. And I say that she became a nominal Republican because although she's been registered as a Republican since around 2022, she's also been since then a consistent Democrat donor. Over the last several years, she has attended several Democrat-related fundraisers around the county, although I have never seen her at any of ours. She has donated to the Greenbrier County Democratic Executive Committee, but not ours. But what concerns me the most is that over the last two election cycles, the most recent ones, she has donated to three of the most liberal Democrats who have ever served in the House of Delegates, Kayla Young, Danielle Walker, and Cody Thompson. Her name is on their financial reports, which I have with me. You can take a look if you like. I have bent over backwards to make sure that it's her, and it is. Since these people are not local and you may not know who they are, I will tell you something about them so that you will know who they are and what they have sponsored so that you will know what my opponent has supported. Now, Kayla is the only one still in Charleston. The others have moved on. But I'm going to tell you something about some of the policy positions that these people have taken so that you can understand what my opponent has supported. Now, none of these three is a defender of your Second Amendment rights. The NRA has consistently given all of them very poor ratings. Danielle was so weak on the Second Amendment that the NRA at one point stopped rating her altogether. But my opponent still donated to her campaign in 2022. When the legislature passed our state's very strong pro-life law in 2022, all three of these Democrats who were there at the time voted against it. But Kayla went a step further. That same year, she introduced House Bill 4382, which would have stripped from the state code every single provision that protected the unborn at that time. The net effect of such a change would have been to have legalized abortion to birth, an extreme position even for a pro-choicer. But for those of us who believe that life begins at conception, it seems to lack all moral clarity. But none of this bothered my opponent, because 2 years after this horrible vote and this horrible bill, she gave Kayla $350, including $100 at a fundraiser in Rossburg, and that was in 2024. This past January, when she announced her candidacy on Facebook, Kayla liked her post, "They're pals." In 2021, all three of these Democrats voted against taking boys out of girls' sports. Cody took those issues further. In 2022, he sponsored a bill that would have allowed transgender people to put their make-believe genders on their birth certificates. Nevertheless, in 2024, my opponent donated to his campaign. But what made this so bad is that Cody was not an incumbent at the time. He had already lost a seat to a Republican in 2022. And in 2024, he was challenging that incumbent conservative Republican to regain the seat. But did my opponent support the conservative Republican? No. She supported the liberal Democrat challenger. That says a lot. No conservative would ever do that. So my opponent has an established pattern of supporting liberal Democrats and causes. And I can only think of three possible explanations. The simplest is that she's a liberal. She might, however, say that she is a conservative, but has made exception for, reasons. To what I will preemptively say that if you make exceptions for your principles, then you don't have any. The third possibility is ignorance. She might say she didn't know where they stood. But these are publicized votes cast by people who are not shy about their opinions, and my opponent is not dumb, so this option is off the table. I also don't think that she's unprincipled, however much she might hem and haw about these issues in order to convince you otherwise. Frankly, I think the simplest explanation is the simplest one, as it usually is. I think she's straight up a liberal on social issues. Now, you have to ask yourself two questions. As a conservative, could you trust someone with that kind of donor record to stand up for your conservative values in Charleston? You have to answer that yourself. Second, what can you make of all of these cards that say she's a conservative? Well, to that I reply, consider the sources. The School Freedom Fund is a political action committee created by Club for Growth. That organization tried to defeat Donald Trump in the 2024 primaries because they don't support some parts of his economic agenda. Americans for Prosperity did the same because they support open borders. Neither of those groups care about our communities, our culture, or our values. They care only about the bottom line. Their definition of conservative is different from ours, but they hope you won't notice. I want to make sure you do. I'm a true social and fiscal conservative. I've always defended the Second Amendment. I voted for constitutional carry twice, first in 2016 when we passed it, again most recently when we extended it to 18 to 20-year-olds. I've always been endorsed by the NRA, likely will be again this year when they announce them. I've already been endorsed yet again by the West Virginia Citizens Defense League. I'm proud of these endorsements. I'm solidly pro-life. In 2015, I voted for the Pain Capable Child Act. I would have voted for a much stronger law in 22 had I been there. I am endorsed by West Virginians for life, and I appreciate that endorsement. I am opposed to the liberal woke agenda. Last year I supported the Riley-Gaines Act. That bill requires the use of your real gender on your birth certificate, and it requires separate private spaces for men and women so that women and girls can be protected from confused and potentially dangerous men. So I am a social conservative, and my record proves it. I'm also a fiscal conservative. I helped remove the food tax. In the past session, I voted to cut the income tax. I sponsored a resolution to increase the homestead exemption for seniors, although it died in the football game between the House and Senate. And I supported even co-sponsored legislation to reduce taxes on our coal and timber industries because those industries are under stress, but they provide hundreds of jobs in my district, and I believe that it is my job as your delegate to step up and help. So I am both fiscally and socially conservative. I am the one person here in this race that you can count on to support every single plank of our party's platform, and I think that I represent you the way you would expect. I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Mr. Cantebury was given 10 minutes. Mrs. Tuckwiller will be given 12, as per the stated rules at the beginning of the event. That is a response to an attack. And so at this time, Mary Catherine Tuckwiller, a candidate for Republican in the 47th House District.
Thank you, Ben. Interesting night to follow, but I'm grateful to be here this evening. And although Ben said we don't have to be open to questions, I'm going to go out the gate with the one I've gotten the most. Which Tuckwiller are you? So just to clear the air, I am married to Thomas. He is son of Raymond. We live on our 7th generation cattle farm off of Blue Sulphur Pike. And for the last 18 years, I've been a proud West Virginian. And I would be glad to address the things that Delegate Canterbury spoke about. But first, I want to tell you why I'm running, because I'm here to run to represent you, and you need to know what the issues are that I stand for, what I want to work for, and where I come down on things. So let's talk about that. I began my life in Virginia in a small town that's not much different from Greenbrier County. Public school educated, went to college, became a classroom teacher. I taught kindergarten and 8th grade English, chose to go to law school at WVU, and have been here ever since. I've dedicated my life to public service. I work regularly with county boards of education. I represent them when we have special education issues, bond issues, levy calls. I know the system intimately. And the last time we needed to look at the funding formula, I was working for the state superintendent of schools, and I helped implement that. There's something I want to point out about education that I'd like to work on. Have you all read in the paper how many teachers were riffed and transferred? Do you know whose fault that is? That is not Miss Wyatt's fault. That is not Mr. Utterback's fault. That is not Miss Sanford-Dunford's. That's the legislature. The law tells us how many people we have to cut and how that needs to go. We can change that. Did you know that there's no consideration for how a teacher performs, and that their evaluation is not a component in how we decide who is going to be cut? That means that a woman who was the teacher of the year at one of the schools in our county got bumped. Teacher of the year, because the law said she had to go. I want to change things like that. I am a mother of 2 small children. When we talk about the issues related to healthcare and the hospital, I live that personally. If you've been in a room with me, you've heard my claim and you know the story, but I said, my husband is a cattle farmer. I have watched him pull a calf. I knew if we were on the road on the turnpike driving to Charleston and I went into labor, I was going to be okay, but I don't want any other mother to have that conversation with her child and her husband. Pediatrics closing down. How are we going to bring people who want to live here and make this their home, a place for them to be, if we're not fighting for health care? Now, I think it's appropriate that I address some of the concerns that the candidate raised. When I worked in state government from 2014 to 2022, I was registered as an independent, and here is why. I worked in Charleston serving the 55 county boards of education and every child in this state who is entitled to a thorough and efficient education. And I wanted every one of them to know if they called me, they were going to get equitable and fair help that was not going to be politicized. And as soon as I left that job, I was proud to return to my Republican roots. I say Republican roots because when I was in high school, I was going to Lincoln Day dinners introducing the very Republican Virginia congressman. I was president of my college Republican club. Now let's talk about those donations. I'm going to admit to them and I'll tell you why. Kayla Young is a friend, but Kayla Young also has spent the last 5 years working on legislation involving ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. There's not a cure for it. I have a sorority sister who's dying young of ALS, and her dad died. And in fact, Senator Deeds offered the companion legislation in the Senate, and this year it finally passed. Thank you, Delegate Canterbury, Senator Woodrum, and Senator Deeds for your yes vote on Kayla Young's bill. I appreciate that, and in thanks to her for representing the cause of my friend who is dying young, I gave her money, and I stand by that. If you have questions of me, if you want to talk about my credentials, if you'd like to know what I stand for, please ask me. I've been making videos that are accessible online via my Facebook. I'm open to answering any question, and I'll remind you, there have been a slew of mailers about everyone in this room. If it doesn't have paid for by the candidate on it, none of us has any control over what those messages say. We might love them and agree 100% with them, and we might think they're the most abysmal thing we have ever seen. That's not up to us. I care about Greenbrier County. I care about Republican issues. I am conservative, and I want to represent you. Please see me afterwards, and I'll answer any questions that you have. I don't know that it would be instructive to do that now. Thank you.
Okay, before we get into the state senate, we do have a special guest here tonight, and we're going to let him come up and introduce himself and plead his case. His name is Judge Todd Kirby, and he is running for the Supreme Court of the state of West Virginia. Judge Todd Kirby.
We'll get a round of applause for Ben putting this together.
Mike up to Mel.
Thank you very much. It's not my court reporter. I am a circuit court judge in Raleigh County. My name is Todd Kirby, and I am running for the West Virginia Supreme Court Division 1. That is going to be the ballot position. It's going to have 5 different candidates on it. And I want to tell you guys a little bit about myself. Many times when I speak, I am limited to 90 seconds or 3 minutes. I have to go through it quickly. But I really want you guys, because this may be the only opportunity you have to hear from me. I was born and raised.
They're going to kill you back there. You got to put that mic up to your mouth.
I was born and raised. I was born and raised in southern West Virginia, and I was raised by 2 school teachers in a middle-class family. I was instilled with small-town values that I believe each and every one of us in this room share. And that's one of the main reasons that I decided to put my name on the ballot, because I felt like for too many years, too many generations, we have gone to the ballot and not had a representative on that ballot that shares our values, that can relate to issues that we discuss every night and every day with our families. Another reason that I decided to run is because I have 2 young children, a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, who are depending on us to get this right, who are depending on us to make this state a better place than what we found it. And I can tell you that since I've traveled the state beginning in December, I'm more optimistic today than I ever have been about the future of this state. But I'm not optimistic because of anything that's going on in the state government or in any Capitol building, even in Washington, D.C. I'm optimistic because I see how much these communities and their neighbors and citizens individually care about each other and care about moving this state forward. So this is another example where, once again, I will leave more enlightened and more optimistic than I arrived. To see all of these candidates, these well-qualified, dedicated candidates coming to speak to all of you from their heart, and all of you here to listen. You're not home poring over the negative mailers. You're not home surfing Facebook trying to find the hottest story or the one with the most dirt. You're here to hear directly from the candidates. And so I applaud you all for that, because that's where you're going to find the truth, and that's where you're hopefully going to make your decision as to who you're going to vote for. So a little bit about why I believe that I'm the best candidate for this position. Of course, you're going to hear each and every candidate hopefully tell you that they are for the rule of law, that they are fair, that they are independent, and that they are going to remain true and honorable in their position as Supreme Court Justice. So these are some of the things that set me apart. I pledged you to promise all of those attributes and to uphold them. But one thing that sets me apart is, like I said earlier, I have 2 small children. I understand how high the stakes are in this race. I understand that this state is at a turning point where we can either continue to make strides and continue to unleash more freedom so the families can prosper, or we can fall back into our old ways that drag this state down for too many generations. And so I feel dedicated and committed to doing my part and contributing to make this state a better place. The second reason that I decided to run was because I felt a need in a specific area of law that I felt was lacking across our state. I'm sure that every one of you, or most of you at least, have seen in the newspapers the tragedies that have happened within our foster care system, within our abuse and neglect system. You read these stories and you think to yourself, how can we let these kids down? How could this kid or how could these children have fallen through the cracks? With all of the money that we spend, the federal money, the state money, and all of the attention that we spend in the legislature and in the judiciary trying to make sure that we don't fail these children, to this day, there are still stories coming out that will bring tears to your eyes. And so for 13 years, I represented foster parents, respondent parents. I was a guardian ad litem for abused and neglected children. I went into their homes. I heard their stories. I went into court and I fought on their behalf to make sure that they had a voice, that they weren't just a number or a case style in front of a judge. And I was honored to do that. As a matter of fact, when it came to the time that I prepared for cases, I prepared for every case until I felt like I was ready. But when I prepared for cases where I was a guardian ad litem for a child in an abuse and neglect case, I'd get to the point where I felt like I was ready and I would start over again because I understood how high the stakes were. And if you don't get these cases right, if we don't pay attention to the details and we don't take into consideration each and every child's individual needs and their concerns, we are going to end up failing a generation of children. We cannot continue to do that. We owe it to these kids, we owe it to ourselves. These are the children that are going to grow up and they're going to take care of us in the nursing home. They're the ones that are going to take care of us in the hospitals. They're the ones that are going to grow up and get teaching certificates and teach our children. And so it's not a selfish thing to want to improve your community by protecting children and focusing on abuse and neglect, but there is an aspect to where it benefits each and every one of us and each and every one of our children and our families. So that's one of the main reasons that I'm running. Now, one thing that I've heard over and over as I've listened to some of the other candidates in my race talk, they want to talk about cases that they're proud of. And a lot of times they'll say, hey, this case was nationally televised. This case was on international TV. Well, I can tell you right now, the case that affected me most was a case that came out of a county right next to mine. And I had been doing abuse and neglect law for about 10 years at this point. And I'm sitting in my living room, kids had gone to bed, my wife was in the kitchen, and I was looking over an autopsy report. And I can remember this as if it happened last night. And I started reading some of the details that the medical examiner had put in that autopsy report. And the tears just started rolling down my face. I'm not an emotional person. I try not to cry much. And I couldn't stop. And I remember my wife walked in and she asked me, what's wrong? And I couldn't begin to describe to her what was wrong. A, the case was confidential. And B, I wouldn't put that on anybody else. But it was at that moment that I realized how our state had continued to let these kids down. It wasn't one fail-safe issue that this child made it through. It wasn't one entity that let this kid down. It was an entire system. Because for some reason, they prioritized making sure that we kept federal dollars, prioritized making sure that people did not, get upset by a supervisor or a judge calling out a department worker. And as a result of that, a child died, a horrific death. And so I pledged to myself in that moment that I would do everything I could, either as a guardian ad litem or as an attorney and now as a circuit judge, to make sure that these kids' voices were heard and that they were adequately protected. Now, the third reason that I'm running is because I felt, it's related to the first one, I felt as though I had the worldview, the values, and the education that is needed for this position. I thought as I was driving down here today from Beckley, it reminded me of when I used to drive by this place 2 or 3 times a month on my way to Lynchburg, Virginia, where I attended school, Liberty University School of Law. And I don't, think that it matters a whole lot where you go to school typically, but I will tell you this, you will not find a law school anywhere on the East Coast that teaches kids that our rights come from God, not from government, not from Washington, D.C. Now, I didn't realize it when I decided to go to Liberty University, but I needed Liberty University School of Law way more than they needed me. And by the time I had left, I had grown up in a conservative home. I had grown up in church, but I was never really able to connect all of it together. But by the time I left Liberty University, I understood how all of these things were so intricate and so tied together. The rights coming from God, the individual freedoms that we all enjoy every day. And I cannot implore you enough to make sure that every candidate that you even consider voting for understands that your rights come from God.
Amen.
They do not come from any government.
Amen.
Because if they do not get that, I'm glad you guys clapped for that. It says a lot about this room. But what I also think it says is we don't hear that often enough.
Right.
I've been to probably 30 or 40 Republican events. Self-proclaimed conservatives. List off 30, 40 endorsements, and yet don't have the nerve to say that our rights come from God.
Amen. Bless you, brother.
So I don't want to belabor the point, but you can look at every single type of issue that will come before me as a Supreme Court justice, and if you look at it through that prism, you get the right answer. If you're balancing the constitutional rights of a fit parent with the rights and obligation of the state to protect vulnerable children, and you look at it through the prism that those are God-given parental rights, but that is a life that God has blessed us with, you will come to the right answer. If you stick to the principle that truth matters more than political expediency, you'll come to the right answer. And so I'm asking each and every one of you, as you go through your ballot, don't listen to the money, don't listen to the mailers, listen to your heart and listen to the message of each and every candidate, not just in my race, but every race from the top to the bottom of that ballot. Now, I'll leave you with this in closing. I have a conservative pedigree, but I didn't feel the need necessarily to say all that tonight. You can look me up. My website is kirbyforwv.gov. Excuse me, that's my, I'm mixing my personal and my employment. Don't go to that one, it's hard to watch it. It's kirbyforwv.com, excuse me. But the most information and the most insightful way to learn about me is through facebook.com/kirbyforwv. If you go there, you'll see my speeches. You'll see my positions. You'll see that I've been endorsed not by just anybody, but the most conservative principled leaders within our state, 30 of them, from the state senate to the House of Delegates to the city council in Beckley to former delegates. And just last week, I got endorsed by the West Virginians for Life. And that endorsement means the world to me because I get that group. That group understands that our rights come from God and not from government. So with that, I beg you all, do your research, and on May 12th, vote Kirby for West Virginia. Thank you all very much.
Does anybody have any questions? He is driven all the way here and he's a statewide candidate. Does anybody have any questions for Judge Kirby?
I answered them all. Thank you, I appreciate you.
Thanks for coming down. Okay, thank you very much. This has been an entertaining evening. Okay, State Senate for the 10th Senatorial District. Once again, we will be going in order of last name, alphabetical, and we will be starting with Jonathan Comer, running for 10th Senatorial State Senate. Give him a round of applause.
I can remember Ben as a young child singing at our church, and actually my brother gave him voice lessons, right, Ben? Is that right?
That's right.
And so if he sings real well, and I know he does, you can credit to my brother Blaine. But thank you, Ben, for this event. I want to say, first of all, thank each and every one of you for being here. It means a lot. I'm glad you're interested in what's going on in our state. And I believe all of us are here because we love West Virginia and because we want to make this state a better state, and especially the 10th district, making it a better place. But two things I want to start with, if I could tonight. First of all is I want everyone to know, number one, that I'm a Christian. That's number one. And I was saved as a 12-year-old boy, trusted Jesus Christ as my Savior. That's the watermark of my life. That's where all my values come from. It comes from being a Christian. And so I'm thankful for that. Secondly, I want you to know that I'm a conservative. I was born and raised a Republican, I often say it this way, my mom and dad raised me right. I was born and raised a Republican, and so since the day I registered to vote, I've been a lifelong Republican, and so I always stood for these values, and people have asked me, what would prompt you to run in this race? And I would just have to say, I prayed about it. I believe God opened the door. And if the Lord wants me in that seat, that's where I'll be. And I want His will for my life, and I want the will of the Lord to be done. So I'm a conservative and I'm a Christian. I want you to know those two things. I grew up in Charleston, just a stone throw really from the capital, in a little place called Canal State Forest. And I grew up there, loving the mountains, loving the people of West Virginia. I believe that's where it all began for me. And loving small town. We grew up in the good old days when you could ride your bicycle down the road, go to different family members, that type of thing. So that's where I'm from, and I'm grateful for this state. But for the last 26 years, my wife and I, we've raised all of our 3 daughters here. They were all born at Greenbrier Valley Hospital. And so this has been our home for the last 26 years. And by the way, this is a beautiful picture. And I was born and raised, as I said, in Kanawha County, but I got to Greenbrier County as quickly as I could. And this is our home, and we're grateful to God for it. When I first came here, I became the pastor and actually the assistant pastor of the Calvary Baptist Church. And our old building is where Morgan Funeral Home is now, and we relocated. But we started there I remember counting just 11 people the first Wednesday night we were there. And God just blessed. And by the way, this is to God be the glory. It's nothing on me. But right now at our church, we're able to minister to hundreds of families. And we've relocated over beside Lowe's and Grand Home Furnishings. I know all of you are probably familiar with our location. And so we're grateful to God for what He's done there. And I am someone that's been on the ground for 26 years. And I have worked with people all over this valley, and it's been really one of the great privileges of my life. So I want you to know that and understand it. Every candidate draws from their experience. Also, at the school, at the church rather, we started a private academy, a Christian academy there, Lewisburg Baptist Academy. And so we've been working at that for 21 years. I believe I'm the only person in the race that ever started a Christian school. And we started just with a handful of 8 students. And this year we had nearly 200 students in the school. Next year we're expecting another great group of young people coming and being able just to minister to them, not only just on Sundays and Wednesdays, but also throughout all of the week, and giving them that foundation that they so desperately need. So this is my experience. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a pastor, I'm even a school teacher. I teach a second period every day, second period Bible class, and so that's really my experience. When I think about running, I hope that all of us are frustrated that West Virginia is nearly dead to last in everything. This is one of the other reasons I'm running, is because I want to make a difference. And I think, first of all, where does it all start? It starts, number one, with making sure that our children are taken care of. My wife and I are entering a new season. We're having our first grandbaby in July, and so we're entering that season. I think someone mentioned that a moment ago. But I'm running not only for me, for you, for us, but also for our children, for our grandchildren, so they have a better place to be raised in, so they can be here in West Virginia. But it takes a better education. We need a better education. And the hub of education, of course, is public school, also private school, and homeschool. And all three of those need to be made available in West Virginia. I'm 100% for school choice. I believe we should have school choice and give every parent the opportunity to spend their own tax dollars for their children's education. And when I think about public education, Christian education, private school education, homeschool, it takes $16,000 to educate a child in our state. And if they go to a homeschool, if they go to a private school, they receive that $5,100 this coming year. And that that amount goes for their education. And then also, remember, in all the districts we're working in, especially in District Number 10, Nicholas, Fayette, Summers, Monroe, Greenbrier, that money between the 16 and the 5,100 will go to the school district and will meet the needs that are desperately needed in the public school. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's something that's worth pointing out. But we have to have good education. We have to be able to take care of our children, make sure that they're educated, and make sure that every parent has the right to educate their children the way that's best for them, for each individual student. A one-size-fits-all has never worked and will never work. And so we need to focus. We want West Virginia to be a better place. We have to continue to focus on education. Also, we have to focus on jobs. We need to expand our coal industry. We need to expand our natural gas industry. We need to bring back manufacturing back to West Virginia. And we need to also continue to expand our tourism. We've been traveling a lot on the campaign trail, meeting a lot of people, answering a lot of questions people have. But we have a state, I wrote down a few statistics, over $9 billion is spent in West Virginia. And that's an amazing number on tourism. 77.2 million visitors visit our state. And so when all that happens, think about it, if you would, with me, just for a moment. When they come to our state, when they ski at our ski resorts, when they walk the river trail, when they mountain bike, whatever the case may be, what if we could make West Virginia an appealing place for them to come and not only just visit and spend money, which we're grateful for, we're thankful for, but also a place where they could come and live and raise their family. I'm like all of you. I believe West Virginia is the greatest state in the country, and people love to visit here, and why not? Why don't they come and stay here? And in order to do that, we have to make our taxes competitive with neighboring states, Kentucky and Ohio. We have to make sure that those that are going to move here, that there is a tax that is fair with all the other states that surround us. And we can do that. And when people come, not just to enjoy the beautiful scenery of West Virginia, but also they can come and make this place their home, raise their children, and build their family right here in West Virginia. One of the greatest needs of West Virginia is to take care of what's happening because we're losing our population. And our children, they need to stay here and find a good paying job. Our grandchildren, give them the opportunity to stay here in West Virginia. And this is really the crux of everything that I want to speak to people about as I'm on the campaign trail. And as far as health care goes, we need to provide good health care. We need to repeal the certificate of need in our state. We need to give religious exemption to every family in West Virginia like other states. And when I go to Charleston, I'll make this promise. I'll listen to you. I'll be available. I'll be prompt to answer your questions. I'll learn from the various committees that are there and work with people like I've been doing for the last 26 years here in Greenbrier County. And I will lead. I will stand up for our Christian values. And I have never been for sale as a pastor, and I will never be for sale in Charleston. Thank you for your time.
Okay, we thank you. And at this time, also running for re-election in the 10th Senatorial District is Senator Vince Deeds.
Thank you, sir. Well, good evening. That's my outside voice, so I'll keep using it. Hey, relax a little bit. I know you've heard a lot of things and a lot of topics that we've discussed already. And I just want you to know that I truly appreciate you all being here tonight. This is really important because these candidate forums is where you find some of the truth out. Okay, because through the whole electoral process, sometimes that truth doesn't necessarily get out any other way except during these moments where we can meet with each other and talk about these important issues. And I've been very honored to serve as your state senator for the past 4 years. And I am your state senator. We're also blessed to have another co-senator. It's Senator Jack David Woodrum. He runs during the presidential years. I run in the off season. And so we are so glad to serve you, and what an honor it has been. Now, in case you don't know who I am or where I came from, one way or the other, my whole life has been about protecting and serving our communities. From the very beginning, I grew up in Summers County at the Jumping Branch on a dairy farm down there, where we learned how to work together as a family, worked around on those kitchen table issues. And we learned how it was so important for all of us to work together to get the chores done so we could make the farm prosper. And then I went, now don't hold this against me, I went to Virginia Tech, okay? I am a Hokie, okay? I can't help that. But I went to Virginia Tech, then I started in the state police and my pastoral duties as well. Because at a young man, at about 18 years old, I remember meeting with Bill Fox, who's the pastor down at Bluestone Baptist Church. We discussed a lot of things, trying to figure out what my path would be in this life. And I knew I wanted to protect and serve. And in that little community where I grew up at, there was pastors and there was troopers. There's about 21 troopers from that little community. And so I wanted to protect and serve. I enjoyed the Cowboys and Indians kind of stuff with the police work, and I was really blessed to have a really prosperous career. I went to FBI Academy, graduated from the FBI Academy with a behavioral science master's degree, and so I took that and I used that to serve our communities. And I served faithfully throughout the 20 years as a pastor, full-time pastor at Meadow Baptist in Greenbrier County, and also in Saints Row Baptist, where I'm currently at. And after I retired, 2018 came around, and I worked all kinds of child abuse cases, child welfare cases, the worst crimes that you could possibly imagine, because I had that specialized skill that I've been trained to be able to help the community, help those people in the darkest hours, and to help those kids in the darkest hours. And so what I did, when I was looking at retiring, and I have a couple dear friends. One of them is Pat Vine. He's currently the judge here, and I went to Pat and talked to him, and he wanted me to work at the prosecutor's office. And so I said, I really want to help the kids as much as I possibly can. So I went to another friend of mine, dear friend of mine, Mr. Jeff Bryant. And we talked about, how I could help make the schools safer, and how I could help those kids progress through the school system. And so I did that. We combined that position, and it was really the first one in the state like that. And I worked in the schools daily, and then I also went in the homes in the evening hours to check on those kids and make sure that they were doing okay. If they weren't in the school, where are they going? What are they doing? And then also, of course, we are very honored to work on the most serious crimes here in the county. So that's a little bit about me. A little bit. But I tell you, I wouldn't be the man I am today if I wouldn't, and I'd be remiss about this, if I didn't mention my wife, Michelle. She's back in the back, and I met her over a bank robbery, okay? So, and that's a true story. I don't have the time to tell you that whole story, but it's a true story. I met her, and I waited for her to get out of jail, too, so it's worth the wait. I'm teasing about the last part. But we met over a bank robbery and had, enjoyed raising two sons that we're really proud of. One is a DNR officer in law enforcement. He's been in law enforcement since he was a young man, since he was old enough. And we're really proud of that. And also our youngest son, he graduates from West Point here at Memorial Day weekend. So really proud of that. So let's talk about some things that are very, very important. Okay, I've been tested, tried, and proven really with my leadership over the years and my service. And ultimately, the same is true in the Senate. I've been tried, tested, and proven in the Senate. I am absolutely very proud of our voting record. And it's our voting record because I represent you. And I've represented you faithfully by honoring God, putting God first. Because a long time ago, I realized that as long as I kept God first in my life, everything else would just work out just fine. And it saved me. It saved me at times. I'm probably about one of the only candidates in the state, across the state, that's been shot at and run over by protecting the local people. But I do that without any kind of hesitation or mental reservation, because you are worth it. The public is worth it, and the service rings true. So I learned that leadership over the years, and I've carried it on in the Senate. Because in the Senate, it's very important that you build a consensus, that you listen. There's a reason that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? You listen twice as much as you talk, right? Absolutely. You listen to all the issues. You listen to, and then you interpret those issues. You discuss it with those people back home that it touches, whether it's in the education system, whether it's an economic issue, whether it's a transportation or road issue. Boy, we need to fix some potholes, don't we? My goodness, yeah, absolutely. All those issues, you talk to everyone, you build a consensus, figure out what the problem is, and actually most of our most effective bills start with an idea from the public and our constituents. They'll come in and say, hey, we need to run this bill. It's like the open captioning bill, which Mr. Burdett right here is a hero for me. He comes down there faithfully every year because he believes in open captioning. And I'm proud to have sponsored that bill. I sponsored 171 bills on my own. Out of 1,000 Senate bills, I sponsored 171 of them. The one I'm most proud of is the open captioning bill, because he deserves to be able to go and be entertained in a movie theater like all the rest of us. And so, we got it all the way across the country. And so, with that being said, you can see there's a lot that goes into the process. I've been very blessed and fortunate to work with our House members, building a consensus. We ran more child welfare bills this year, okay, which it's been very important for us to run these child welfare bills, because who's the most precious thing we have? It's our kids. Absolutely, that's the next generation. And so with that being said, we ran a lot of them. We worked with the House, working it all the way through, and we got a bunch of them passed. And then there was a direction that the governor wanted to go in, and we lost some of them on the governor's table. But however, we'll be back to fight again for our kids next year, Lord willing, if you all want me to go back. Now, let me tell you what's important. I believe, of course, I'm pro-education. I believe it's really important that all of us realize that we have to support education. And so we need to do that. Also, one thing I want to give you this one last minute, because I'm going to run out of time. I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about the environment. Okay? Now, why would I want to talk about the environment? Have you seen all those negative mailers that's been coming in the box? That's all out-of-state money. Okay? That's all out-of-state money that's pouring those negative ads in here. And really, whoever's responsible for that, those negative ads, I guess they didn't read Ronald Reagan's tenet. It's the 11th commandment that we should not speak ill of other fellow Republicans. Trust me, I am trusted, proven leadership, not only for years, and I will continue to represent you well, and I am an open door and you can call me at any time on my phone. And I'll be glad to entertain any questions if we have any time.
We have no time.
No time? Yeah.
I would like to thank both state senate candidates for keeping it very clean and civil.
Yeah.
Thank you. At this time, it is about 20 minutes left before we have to be out of here. And I really wanted you all to have the opportunity to go to these individual candidates and speak to them directly. We have a representative here tonight, Dr. Rob Johnston, and he has some really great literature, some really good information having to do with geoengineering and the fight going on in our state to really try to prevent that from affecting West Virginia. And he can explain it a heck of a lot better than I can. And I'm going to give you, Dr. Johnston, because I love you, 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes, because the only problem is we have to exit the building by 8 o'clock. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you very much. A surprise is not welcome, but not unexpected. I'm Dr. Robert Johnston. I am a founder and member of an organization we started a year ago called West Virginians for Clean Air. And upon watching the streaks across our sky, I felt somebody has to do something about this. Now, what they will tell you is that those streaks across the sky are from jet exhaust. And that's partially true in the sense that they are adding pollutants to the fuel that they're running through jet aircraft. But that is not all there is to geoengineering. So we are a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization, and we have been striving to get bills passed in Charleston to stop geoengineering in West Virginia. Now, geoengineering is a broad term that includes solar radiation management, it includes stratospheric aerosol injections, it includes weather modification, it includes cloud seeding, and it includes ionospheric heating, which you probably never heard of. The key thing is that these activities are being funded through the federal government by way of the Department of Defense, the NOAA, NASA, the EPA, and the FAA, as well as certain private contractors and NGOs. So our objective is to get this to stop in West Virginia. I don't have time to go into the details, but these so-called chemtrails include toxic metallic compounds such as aluminum, strontium, and barium, as well as extensive amounts of sulfur dioxide. The ostensible purpose of this is to mitigate global warming. Okay, I'll put that in air quotes. So what we did was we have worked the past year in conjunction with Senator Jack David Woodrum and Delegate Ray Cantebury, and along with another organization called zerogeoengineering.org, to take in the best elements of bills that are offered, put forward in 34 other states to stop this activity. Along those lines, we were successful in getting Senate Bill 632 and House Bill 5160 submitted to this past legislative session. The Senate bill went to the Senate Natural Resources Committee. The House bill went to the House Energy and Public Works Committee. Neither bill made it out of the committee, but the bills would and Geoengineering in West Virginia, authorize the Department of Environmental Protection, along with the state police and the Air National Guard, to enforce the prohibitions in the bill, provide for penalties for violations, create an atmospheric oversight fund that would be funded by those penalties, and empower the governor to enter into interstate compacts to deal with the issue of the fact that the air moves and the pollutants will cross state lines.
30 seconds.
Thank you. So what we would request of you, if you have an interest in pursuing this matter, we have information in the back, including flyers and a petition. We'd like you to take some information if you would like, or go to our website, which is westvirginiansforcleanair.com, and inquire further of the matter. Clearly, I don't have time to explain all the details. And if you would care to contribute more, we would welcome your contribution of time, expertise, or money. Thank you very much.
Good job.
In closing tonight, this is an exciting time for the Republican Party. Can we all agree on that, no matter what? Thank God Republicans are in charge and not the other side right now.
Right.
We are so blessed to live in a red state. And it also brings me much joy to announce that there are now more independents in Greenbrier County than Democrats. They're in third place now. Woo-hoo! So that being said, be informed, go vote. We have about 20 minutes before we have to shut the doors. I'm going to ask the candidates if you all will be willing to kind of be in that general commons in the middle over there, kind of speak to people on their way out the door. We greatly appreciate that. And as we close, I just want to encourage you all to remember two things. April 21st is the last day that you can register to vote. And if you are an independent, you cannot vote in this Republican primary. The Republican primary is now closed. It is closed, meaning that if you're an independent, you cannot vote in it. You have to switch to Republican. It's easy to do, very easy to do on govotewv.com. It takes 5 minutes to switch. And then finally, remember the primary is May 12th. And one last thing, we're going to be doing this again next Thursday night in Rupert at the Rupert Community Building to give a good opportunity for the Meadow River Valley to come out and experience this format. And finally, thank you all for supporting the Greenbrier County Republican Party. Good night.